All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and pull the spark plug out of the front cylinder here. This is a 5/8 snap-on spark plug socket. It's going to be a difficult angle. I may knock you guys down a little bit. You're on a tripod, kind of leaned over. We're going to see if we can get the valve cover off without having to take that guy out. We might have to remove part of the shift linkage. Spark plug's a little warm, not too bad. You guys see it's pretty white, actually. I think that would be like a little lean. There's a little tan over here, but it's a little lean. This thing hasn't been ran a whole bunch. I can't remember if I put brand new spark plugs in here or not. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the valve cover off. If I can find out what I did with the ratchet and socket I had in one of my pockets. That's not it, that's not it. Oh, it's down here on the ground. Here we go. 6mm here. I hope we don't have a blown head gasket. This thing is, we've done a lot of work to this. And I have an update, like I said before, on the wiring for the electromagnetic deal for the 4-wheel drive, lock and unlock. You can look up the Bennche Spire 800 wiring diagram and just use the new style wiring diagram. You will take one of the grounds and it will be moved. So let me grab a tin and remove this part of the shift linkage, get this out of the way because I cannot get to, well, I guess I can get to it from this side. It's got a little cutout. I don't know if we'll be able to get the valve cover off. Still might have to unbolt this guy and move it. Yeah, we're gonna have to go ahead and unbolt this guy and move it real quick. So let me grab a tin. Of course, gonna need a 10mm 1/4" drive or a wrench. I'm just gonna grab a ratchet wrench. Always got something to throw a little damper in the party here. This is my lovely Harbor Freight ratchet wrenches that I bought. Golly, I couldn't tell you how long ago I actually bought these. It's been so long before I even, yeah, I needed a set somewhere. I think I was in Florida and I needed a set of ratcheting wrenches and I just went to Harbor Freight. Honestly, I haven't replaced them since. They've actually been pretty good. All right, so put the head gasket or valve cover gasket back in place. Grab my flashlight for timing marks here. I see the timing marks. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the rear cylinders, spark plug also. That way it makes turning this thing over that much easier. Access can be a little pain in the butt. Rear, pretty darn white also. It's kind of a interesting deal. I've seen the AFR before on here. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just bump this over a little bit at a time. I can see the timing marks. I'll check the cams. There's intake, there's exhaust. That's overlap. We should be coming up a little too far on that. I'll grab a wrench and we'll come back just a little bit. Hopefully, I think it's a 17, could be a 16. See if we can come back just a little bit to top dead center perfectly on that. 15, 16, 17, I'll grab all those because sometimes you can. I don't want to put much force on this bolt. Yeah, I'm barely putting any force on that at all. So right there would be top dead center. I'll show you guys that real quick, get you off the stand. You guys see timing mark over there, hopefully, and over here lined up. Cam lobes are pointed away from the rocker arms. Let's check out. Valve clearances feel really good, so that's awesome. Oop. Didn't lock this in place. So now I'll come over, grab my air hose. And then you guys see me use this compression tester before. It's also used the tubes as for leak down. I use one for compression, one for leak down. Of course, the leak down one will not have a Schrader valve in it. I'm gonna have to use an adapter. I think that's gonna be the 12mm adapter. You guys see, like I've seen in other videos, I shaved this down for some other jobs where this wouldn't fit down in there. Put that on there nice and tight. Thread this down in there. Like I said, I personally don't care what the reading is on this old thing. This is actually from Kohler. I really don't care what the reading is. All I'm trying to do is actually trying to lower the pressure right now. All right, all I'm trying to do is actually just see if we're blowing through the head gasket into the cooling system. So let's go ahead and turn that up slowly. Oh yeah, all day long. All day long. Look at that. I barely put any air behind that. Blowing right through the head gasket, blowing air into the system. Look. So we know the front head gasket's bad. So now I'm going to go ahead and take the rear valve cover off this thing. We'll turn it top dead center and check to see if the rear one's bad. Man, that really sucks because we have done a lot of work to this thing. Spent many, many hours on the electrical and got that all figured out. Except for the reverse light up there, which is on constantly. And then I didn't even think about it when we had the clutch off to check that and maybe replace that. And I replaced the switch, so the switch for it. So I replaced the switch. So it's probably got a broken ground wire somewhere in here making it show, because this thing operates by grounding. So we know that the water pump was leaking oil. So we got water in the coolant, or yeah, water in the coolant, water in the oil. And now we know we got a blown head gasket on cylinder 1. So I'm gonna go ahead, take top off cylinder 2, and I'll show you guys timing marks on that when I get to that point. This is gonna be really hard to see from this angle, but the same thing as the front. You'll have the two lines lined up flush with the head. Let's come back up here. Tough to get to there. I'm hoping the rear one doesn't have a problem. I already had everything off this UTV twice now, so I would hate to have to take everything off again. I never suspected a blown head gasket, but hey, what can you do? All right, so let's grab our leak down tester, our air hose. Let's walk around. I'm gonna walk around to the passenger side here. Make my life a little easier trying to get in here. I'm gonna take off this this panel so I can get in there a little bit easier. Of course, I knocked the valve cover bolt down on the pan, but whatever. All right, so we got that out of the way. I will grab that here shortly. And then let's go ahead and see if we got a blown rear head gasket, which they call the rear on this one is cylinder 1, cylinder 2. So cylinder 2 has a blown head gasket. I'll back down all the pressure again, because it doesn't take much, as you can tell. All right, we're gonna up it up. I got pretty much, that might not have been in there all the way. Let me try that again. I might have knocked that out. Drop all the pressure again. I was like, man, there is 0 leak down. So let's try again. If I can get that to be quiet. I hear bubbling, but that might be down in the crankcase. I hear that in the crankcase, so that might just be yeah, I don't have any air coming through. No air coming up here to the, and that thing's pretty wide open. It's about 100 pounds of pressure in there. No bubbles coming out of here. So we know cylinder 2 has a blown head gasket. So now what I'm going to do, gonna have to call the customer, find out how much he's wanting to spend on this unit, because we need to replace that head gasket there. And I need to check the oil to see, that's cooled off enough. We can check, might be able to check the oil right now to see if we're getting any coolant into the oil again, since we got the new water pump on there. I thought it was just going to be the water pump. I've seen these things fail quite a bit, but unfortunately it looks like, well, we know got a blown head gasket in cylinder 2. So let's try to get this out of here. Nope, no water in the oil. That is awesome. So we know we cured that part. We got lucky with the head gasket just letting compression by and not any oil or water down into the oil, vice versa. So put the oil plug or oil fill check, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that oil thing that where you look at it, you know, put that back in. I'll give the customer a call, guys. All right, guys, so here where we're at right now, we're gonna go ahead and start disassembling the head on this. I just drained the coolant from down low, took the radiator cap off, popped loose the bleeder valves on each one of this. The heads here are where the coolant runs into it on the head. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off, get this out of the way so you got a better view. And then we'll go ahead and take the intake off here from back here, take these tins off here. We'll go ahead and disconnect all the electrical on the intake. Let's go ahead and just do that now while I'm just standing here looking at it so I don't forget anything. If I can get this back one off of the injector. And then we have the engine temperature switch there. That'd be the map sensor. That one I'm not worried about because that runs down to, this is your pickup coil. And then let's go ahead and we're gonna loosen it up here. And we'll take a look inside that throttle body to see what it looks like too, make sure it's all clean. And I'm gonna go ahead and loosen it right here too, just in case it does want to come apart very well. I'm probably just gonna leave all the fuel lines hooked up to it. Could take the injectors and fuel lines off, 5mm on these guys. But I'm gonna see if I can just go ahead and take this off with the tins. Let's grab my tin here. All right, already gonna be gonna break them loose first, I guess. There we go. It's easier to use a 1/4" 10mm swivel to get down in here to break all this loose. You can get to it other ways, but I find this to be the easiest, just for me personally. To each their own. There we go. And we're back. I guess you guys didn't even know I left. I had a phone call. That was actually a shop up towards St. Louis, Missouri with a MSU 500. They had a question about some things, so gave them some information. Again, guys, if you give me a holler and I do help you out in any way, shape, or form, email or whatever, all I ask is that you guys come back in here and like my videos, leave some comments, subscribe to my channel. Actually, I think it's like 94% of the people that watch my, maybe even more, 94%, 96% of people who watch my videos are not subscribed to my channel. It's absolutely free, doesn't cost you anything. It definitely helps me out in the long run. And no, I don't make millions of dollars from YouTube. I actually spend more money most of the time trying to make these YouTube videos than I actually make off of YouTube, which is pennies right now. So the more you guys subscribe, the more you watch, maybe the more money I'll make, and I can invest in better camera equipment besides my GoPro Hero 9 Black. But anyways, let's get this off of here. Intake is off. I'm gonna grab a flashlight, shine it down in those intakes real quick just to see what's going on down there. Want to make sure it's not like possibly full of mud or anything like that. So definitely carbony, definitely valves don't look too bad from here, not too much carbon on the back sides. Actually looks pretty good. Let me grab some paper towels, we'll stuff them down in there. That way we don't get any debris that gets sucked down inside. All right, there's that. And there's that. Actually, I don't know if I set this back to TDC on the front cylinder yet. Looks like it, let me check. Nope, absolutely not. So I'm gonna pull these back out. Definitely gonna get a code for a bunch of stored codes for this one, but it is what it is. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna bump this over. I'm gonna watch. There's the intake, or exhaust. I mean, overlap. Okay. Now I need to cut, whoop. I'm gonna grab a 17, I'm gonna go ahead and rotate that back just a little bit so those lines line up like we showed you in the previous part of the video when we were doing all this checking. Pretty sure it was a 17. And we're not gonna put a lot of pressure on that because that bolt's not very, yeah, you know. If I could, well, actually, I think it's a 16. Ha! Forget Chinese stuff. All right, back to, let's grab this 16. Yeah, it was just easier for me to bump this over like that than it was for me to pull that side cover off over there. All right. All right, that is TDC compression. Movement there. There's a little bit of movement there and there. Not much. We'll definitely have to check those valve clearances. So now we can just shove this back in here. So we were draining the coolant earlier. So we'll get this out of the way. We'll set it back there. We'll try not to mess anything up, break off these tabs or anything like that. So now we need an 8. Take this guy off. This is unplugged, that'll stay in. Where did I put my 8 at? There we go. This is where the thermostat should be, but it is not. There's that one, that one. Now you can see these do have O-rings. They look like pure crap, so. Oh, maybe that was the thermostat, and it's no, look at that. That's just destroyed. So that was like the thermostat. It's just a little washer with the O-ring on it. We use those sometimes in racing, so we don't use the thermostat. But again, you can see the O-ring down here is just shot, so we'll have to replace that. Next, we're going to go ahead and loosen the header bolts. I think those are a 12. Let me grab a wrench for that. Could be might be a 14. Yep, that looks like a 14. That'll make me happy because I actually have a ratcheting wrench that'll fit that. $13. Ah, you know, Chinese, Kyle, you should know that by now. 13. Get your head wrapped around the numbers that the bolts that you know, that I know are on this silly thing. 10, 8, 13. There we go, yeah, that'll work. Come over to, actually, let me pull that off with a 10, because that's just in the way. Get you out of the way. I could take this whole mechanism off. Shift mechanism. Let's just get it out of the way so you guys got a better view. The things I do for my viewers. Sometimes a little extra work helps you guys see things a little bit better, so no big deal. All right, so maybe you guys got a little bit better view of what's going on over here this way. The shifter's not in the way. So now we gotta get this bottom one off over here, which gives me, honestly, without that in the way, gives me a little more room to work in here too. Belt, and it's pretty loose already. There we go with that. There we go, that's out of the way. So next we're going to do the timing chain tensioner down here. And we'll pull that out. That'll give us room to take the timing chain, hopefully off this guy. May have to, yeah, this should be able to allow us to take the timing chain off of that. I was literally just talking about MSU 500, so my mind is kind of stuck on those. I'm gonna go ahead and put some of these bolts back into the head so I remember where they go. All right, so we need an 8. My 1/4-inch drive. In my pocket. Nope, flashlight. On the bench behind me. Yeah, that's good. It's got tension on it, at least, because I didn't want to move with just my fingers, so that means there's tension on that spring inside the timing chain tensioner, so we know that's still good at least. I did order a new timing chain tensioner gasket, head gasket from partsboss.com. Said they're in stock. So hopefully they'll be here. I did 2-day shipping. Of course, I ordered them, last night? So the order will be probably processed and done today, and hopefully be here on Monday, which today is Friday. All right. There we go. Let's check out the timing chain tensioner here. Feels pretty good. So what we'll have to do is, when we do put it back on, we'll take this out, and then we'll be able to press this back in with the spring and everything like that. And then once we bolt this in, then we'll put that in the spring in, and I'll put the tension on it. So that should have gave us, hopefully, should have gave us, but definitely does not feel like it gave us a lot of play here. So probably gonna have to take off the stop it down. Ran across that quite a few times. MSU 500's that way. Can't remember if the 700's the same way or not. When I did that one, I don't remember. My gun way over here. Ugh. Hit this with a 16 mil. Or not. Gonna have to get the big boy out. There we go. Holy smokes. That's tight. If I can't get it out like that, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Holy smokes, I may have to try to, because there's not enough room for that. Should come off. I can see the bearing. Well, let me go ahead and, what I do with my wrench over here in the box. Let me go ahead and put that back to TDC again. That's got to come loose in order for me to pull this off, drop it down, take the cam chain off, and then pull the head. Ooh, because there is no play there. So let's try it again. You know what? Let me get my... All right, guys, you probably hear my air compressor running behind me. I had to break out my air gun, and I actually just heated this up. You can see all the smoke rolling off this. I had to heat this up a whole crap ton with my torch with some MAP gas to break that thing loose. It came loose really easily after I got some air pressure in there and got it all heated up. That Chinese Loctite ain't no joke. That Chinese red Loctite's nice. So I'm gonna let this cool down for a minute, and then we'll go ahead and pull the cam down, or the cam sprocket all down, and take the chain off, and then we'll go ahead and start loosening the two 5mm Allens. It'll be a 6x10 5mm Allens inside there. Bolts, we'll take those out. We got to be careful to not drop. I think it should have washers underneath it, and then we have these four, I believe these are 12mm, could be 13. We know how that goes. We'll take those guys off, and that'll allow us to go ahead and pull the head off when we get a good look at that head gasket and see what's going on. All right, let's see if this is cooled off enough, because I Don't have, I can't find my other gloves anywhere. All right, she's down there. She's a little toasty yet. Cam chain's not bad. All right, so there's the sprocket. Whoo, cam chain's a little toasty. But I'm gonna go ahead and just let that set down in here like that. Next, we got coming down in here, there's two 5mm Allen 6x10 bolts. Let's see how tight those are. If they're too tight, they're not too bad. Those should only be, I think those are like 12 newton meters also on that, maybe 20 at the most. But I'm just trying not to break, I'm using a ball in, which I'd rather not, but I don't have a long straight. So let's get that cam sprocket out of the way. Sorry if I got a bad angle for you guys underneath my arm. So there's one. Still a little tight. Got a little tight since I let that pressure off. My impact, it's on the other side somewhere. I don't feel like going to get it. All right, here comes number two. And we put this back together, guys. I'll give you the proper torque. So there you can see all the rust and stuff in there. That could be actually been from coolant leaking down there. Very doubtful, but that's just like water, because like I said, this thing's had a tough life. Let's just put it to you like that. So now, got those out. I don't see any washers in there. So now we'll go ahead and break these loose. We're gonna start out about a 1/4 turn crisscross pattern as we loosen these up. And honestly, those weren't very tight at all. And I think they were 40 newton meters. I don't know. I'll have to look again. I can't remember how many newton meters it is on each one of those. So let's grab my gun since it's off of there. Should be a 12. Since they're all broke loose, we'll just back them all out. Quicker way to do this. There we go. These do have washers on them, so make sure you keep those washers. And we'll put them back. Of course, these two will go back on the inside because you can see they're nice and oiled. The other ones are kind of rusted looking. We'll put those back on the inside when we do put this back together. So now, let's give this head a little move. You can see the water leaking out of it. That'll go down on the floor. We'll clean that up later. And we'll go ahead and remove this. You can see the head gasket is just stuck to everything. So there's your head gasket. You can see it's pretty much glued to the cylinder. We won't be able to see definitely where it failed in here, but we know it failed. You could see how hot this thing's got, that all that has come off. It doesn't always stay on there, but you can definitely see you know, your intake. Not too much carbon on the exhaust, that's good. Top of the piston looks good. Arrows facing the exhaust. So now it's a hurry up and wait game for me the next couple days to hopefully get the head gasket and the timing chain tensioner gasket. So what I'm gonna do while I'm waiting on that stuff, guys, I'm gonna just go ahead and do this off camera. I'm just gonna go ahead and clean this up, and then we'll pick up once the new head gasket and stuff gets here. So I'm gonna clean this up, clean the head up, and next thing you guys will see is the reinstall of the head gasket on this 2012 Bennche Spire 800. All right, guys, so I got the cylinder head all cleaned off. I got the cylinder cleaned off. The cylinder looks really good. The problem with the head is, I don't know if you can see this or not, you can see where the head is very porous everywhere. It's got a bunch of, I can't even think of the word I'm trying to think of here. But anyways, it's very porous. It's got a bunch of divots and dents in it. You can see where it's kind of coming away here and there. I just took sandpaper and kind of cleaned it up a little bit real quick. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this on a plane, probably a big, nice piece of glass with some sandpaper, and I'm going to have to clean all this up, make it nice and smooth to get rid of all this porous surface here, because that's just going to cause leaks in the head gasket. It's not going to seal properly if it's not on the sealing surface. So this is probably one of the main reasons that it was leaking through the head gasket and causing that issue. Of course, this thing, like I said, it was used and abused. So we're trying to make it right for our customer here, and we're gonna go ahead and put this on a block or a piece of glass with some sandpaper and clean that up. I'm gonna do figure 8 patterns so it's all clean, and I'll show you guys what it looks like after the fact, because I'm not gonna do it on camera. I'm just gonna do it after the fact so you guys can see what it looks like. All right, guys, we got our new head gasket in today. Unfortunately, no matter how much I sanded this down, I didn't want to get too crazy on it because I don't know what the squish is for the piston, what the kind of clearance the piston has in here, and I don't know what the piston the valve is, so I didn't want to go down too crazy on this. But you can see it cleaned up really nicely, but I don't know if you can see through my magnifying glass or not. I'll try, but it's still pitted everywhere, even on the water jackets, so you can just kind of see that possibly. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and use a new head gasket, but we're going to go ahead and use this copper coat spray gasket, high temp sealant. Basically what we'll do, we'll coat both sides of the head gasket with this and let it set for a minute, and then we'll go ahead and put the head on and torque it all down. Head bolts are 38 Newton meters, by the way. And then, and hopefully that'll seal, that should seal off all these spots right here with that copper coat. That should seal all this little imperfections and things like that. So that's our best bet to do, because otherwise we have to get ahead, and I don't think I know the owner doesn't want to do that because he doesn't want to spend any more money. So we're going to go ahead. What I'll do, I'll hang this on a wire, and I'll put a generous coat of copper coat on both sides, set this down on top of the cylinder, and then go ahead and mount the head. All right, you guys can see I got the copper coat on this. I applied it generously. I'm going to let it hang here for a second, kind of let it start to dry just a little bit, and then take it off my wire here, and then we'll set it down. We'll try not to touch the surfaces, and we'll go ahead and set it down. Actually, I want to go this direction. Try not to touch the surfaces at all, just maybe the edges here to get it to kind of, well, I'm gonna have to poke her down there a little bit to get this thing to settle back down on the dowel pin here, which it doesn't want to go down on it for some reason now. There we go. Might have to grab a little copper coat and hit that right there real quick. Not really I wanted to see happen, but it is what it is. Not the best idea to do that, but that's about the only way to get this thing to probably seal. Line that back up, we'll grab the head. It's already getting nice and tacky. Slide the head down on here. Head's on. Grab our bolts. Dirty ones, of course, on the outside. Clean, oily ones back on the inside. Sorry about the sniffing, guys. My nose is running like crazy today, and being bent over is not helping that situation at all. Get all those down, and 38 Newton meters at a crisscross pattern. should already be preset to 38. 38. Hit 40 on that one. 38.9. 38.6. 38.6. 38.5. Double check them all. There we go. We got that. Those are torqued down. Now we'll add our two long 5mm head Allen bolts. If I can find out which side I put those on. These did not have a washer on them when they came out. And then we'll torque these down to 10 Newton meters. There we go. So now the head's bolted back down, and we'll go ahead and put the water jacket back on, exhaust back on. These are 10 Newton meters, and we'll put a little bit of silicone here, put the valve cover gasket on, put the valve cover on. Oh, I'm sorry, we need to do the chain and sprocket first for that, my bad. But anyways, we'll put the sprocket back on, tighten it back down. I'll give you the torque on that in 1 second. And then a little bit of silicone, valve cover, tighten those bolts to 10 Newton meters. These are 10 Newton meters, and I believe these are 12, maybe a little bit more than that. Nice and snug, and then we'll get the intake back on. And we'll let it dry before we fill it with water. So I'm gonna go ahead and reassemble this thing off camera. I might show you guys the way I do the sprocket and all that so you can see that. All right, so let's go ahead and grab my magnet here, get the cam chain back up and out. Got that. We know we're still at TDC. Make sure we got our marks facing outwards, because one side doesn't have any. The other side has these two guys here. So we'll go ahead and slide it down, rotate it. Whoop, make sure I get down far enough. Get on both sides of the cam sprocket, put it on there, and right now, I should be, that's just about perfect, because when I loosened it up, it did turn. So I'm lined up with the tab. You guys can see they're just a little bit off because when I broke it loose, it did turn the motor a hair. But I am lined up with that tab there and there. And I'm gonna make sure all the slack, for the most part, it's gonna be on that back, on this front side when we put the timing chain tensioner in down here. So I'm gonna pull back down, make sure all the slack's on the front. And then this bolt here, actually I use red Loctite. It says 20 Newton meters, so I'm gonna hit it pretty good with my impact. Make sure it stays in place. 20 Newton meters is not much. And then I'll throw the new timing chain tensioner in with gasket. And then we'll go ahead and put this guy on. Like I said, I'm gonna let it set for a little bit, make sure that copper seal seals up really good before we actually add coolant, and we'll go ahead and put the rest of this back together off camera. No point in watching that. You guys saw it come apart. And then we'll go ahead and add coolant, try to burp this system out, fire it up, and see if we get rid of that blown head gasket issue or not. And hopefully, we're hoping that seals that all off. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, we got the hoe inside back together again. 10 Newton meters on those, 38 on the head bolts. It was 20 on the sprocket bolt, 10 on the water thermostat, where thermostat should be. on the 8mm bolts there. I forget what the torque was on that off the top of my head. Again, timing chain tensioner, 10, you know, 10 or 12, 12, 12, and then I put all this back on, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Spark plug's 18 Newton meters. So I'm gonna go ahead and, we're gonna go ahead and throw some coolant in this thing and see if we can't bleed it out. I'm gonna go ahead and fill it up with coolant off camera and make sure it comes out of the 2 holes on the back, and then we'll jump back into it when I fire it up. All right, got the coolant system bled statically with the radiator and the 2 on the back. Let's see if this thing will fire up here. Fuel pump cycle on. Sound like she might be running on 1 cylinder at the moment. Let's give her a second to catch up, see what happens. Positive part, I don't see any air bubbles right now. Super happy not seeing any air bubble out of this thing. I'm gonna sit here and let this run for a little bit, and I'll let you guys know if I see any air bubbles. You know, that blown head gasket, it was just pushing out air constantly, and now we have nothing. So that's a great, great sign. So I'm gonna let this thing sit here, heat cycle a couple times, and I'll get back to you guys, let you know what's up. All right, guys, so here's where we're at on this 2012 Bennche. I'm about ready to just call it quits on this thing altogether. Customer already doesn't want to spend the money to keep fixing it, nor I have, let's just say I probably have like over 40 hours in this unit with tracking down all the wiring, what runs what in this unit, because HiSun does not have a schematic for it. So I finally got the 4-wheel drive fixed after knowing that the electromagnetic things, 2 of the 3 were bad. Finally figured out the wiring, how to wire this with the new setup on it. And then the rear 4-wheel drive locker, or the differential locker, being bad, replaced that. And then it was overheating. Water pump was bad, leaking oil. All right, sorry, battery went dead. So we replaced the water pump because the seal was bad, had water in the oil. Replaced the water pump. We checked all the plastic gears, took the clutch off, checked all the plastic gears for that. Replaced the reverse switch on here because of the dash, which it did work and now it's not working. We have now put a new head gasket on the front of this thing because it had a head gasket leak also. And now I run across this after cleaning, because yesterday after warming it up and everything, thought the radiator cap wasn't sealing right. So here's what I ran across now. I cleaned it all up. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. There's holes eating through there, all over this thing. This thing is all, just because it's sat, and who knows what else is gonna happen to this thing. You know, I got a crap ton of hours in this thing. And I told the customer I wouldn't charge him all the hours, but yet he doesn't want to keep fixing it. So I don't know. I might fix this radiator cap deal on that. Oh yeah, and the battery's not charging, so I have to check the stator, see if the stator's bad or the rectifier's bad. So I know he's not gonna keep putting money into this damn thing. I'm freaking sick and tired of working on it. I would fix it if it was mine, but I'm not buying the unit by any means. But it'd definitely be a great unit once everything's fixed. It's just about done fixing everything. There's just a lot of hours in this deal. So I'm gonna fix this mounting point for the radiator cap and all that stuff. You can order those separate. But after that, I'm done with this thing. No more hours, no more time. I've got like $4,000 worth of hours in this thing, which I'm not gonna recoup, and I'm not gonna keep putting money into it, knowing the customer still has to drive from Houston to pick it up if he even wants it. It says he wants it, but I'm not buying the unit. So again, guys, if you got any questions, please drop a comment down below. Sub if you haven't subbed, leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You don't like the content, I'll make a short later on to let you know what happened in the end. Other than that, you can find me at limitlesspowersports78@gmail. If you want to email me, find me on Facebook at Limitless Power Sports Service and Repair. TikTok at Limitless Power Sports Sir and Rep. Again, guys, I appreciate it. Keep subbing if you haven't. And I'll catch you guys on the next upload.